wisdom of the middle way. Nagarjuna's Mulamadhyamakakarika. Translation and commentary by J.L. Garfield. Part 2, the text and commentary. Chapter 8, examination of the agent and action. The discussion of external phenomena comprised by the first 7 chapters of the text leads naturally to a discussion of the subject side of experience. A discussion that occupies the next 6 chapters. For it might be granted that the phenomenal external world is empty, but argued that it depends for its nominal existence on an inherently existing subject. This idealist tactic, familiar in the West through Berkeley and Hume, and criticized by Kant in the refutation of idealism, was adopted by some, the Cittamatra school, in the history of Buddhist philosophy. We can well imagine an opponent at this stage in the dialectic conceding to Nagarjuna that external phenomena lack inherent existence and that the dependent arising that characterizes them lacks inherent existence, but that their very emptiness entails their nominal character and, hence, some subject capable of engaging in nominal imputation. So the subject as agent must exist. 1. This existent agent does not perform an existent action, nor does some non-existent agent perform some non-existent action. Nagarjuna here announces that, with respect to agency and action as well, he will steer a middle course between inherent existence and complete non-existence. Neither action nor agent will come out to be an inherently existing entity, nor will either end up being completely non-existent. 2. An existent entity has no activity. There would also be action without an agent. An existent entity has no activity. There would also be agent without action. If the agent were inherently existent, then it would be unchanging. Activity is always a kind of change. So if there were action in the context of an inherently existing agent, the action would be agentless, which would be absurd. Moreover, the agent would be inactive, which would also be absurd. This, of course, is just one more case of Nagarjuna demonstrating the incoherence of a position that tries both to posit inherently existent, independent entities and then to get them to interact. 3. If a non-existent agent were to perform a non-existent action, then the action would be without a cause and the agent would be without a cause. However, if agent and action are totally non-existent, there will be no cause for the action and no justification for calling the agent an agent. 4. Without a cause, the effect and its cause will not occur. Without this, activity and agent and action are not possible. Agent, the agent's activity, and the action all depend upon conditions. They are all, therefore, dependently arisen and empty. If, as the opponent would have it, these are inherently existent, there would be no action. But if we think of them as dependent, we can make perfectly good sense of agent, activity and action in interrelation. 5. If activity, etc., are not possible, entities and non-entities are not possible. If there are neither entities nor non-entities, effects cannot arise from them. If there were no action, then since entities arise from the action of previous events, there would be no entities and no effects. In short, without making sense of the possibility of actions and agency as empty, we can't account for the existence of any phenomena. 6. If there are no effects, liberation and paths to higher realms will not exist. So all of activity would be without purpose. And all of this has a moral and a soteriological dimension as well. For if there are no acts and no effects, then the practice of morality and of the Buddhist path will make no sense. There would be no point to life if human action is impossible. And again, its impossibility follows straightforwardly from the reification of either agent to action. It is ironic that it is the urge to guarantee more reality and significance for ourselves than emptiness appears to allow that leads to a view of life as perfectly impossible and pointless. That is, though we are led to ascribe inherent, independent existence to ourselves and to the world of phenomena we cherish in part. In order to assign them the greatest possible importance, this very importance would be completely undermined by such inherent existence and independence. For in that case, all activity and all consequences of activity would be impossible. The resultant life would be static, detached, and utterly meaningless. Only in the context of emptiness, what might appear to be the greatest threat to meaningfulness, can a meaningful life be understood. 7. An existent and non-existent agent does not perform an existent and non-existent action. Existence and non-existence cannot pertain to the same thing. For how could they exist together? There is no way to escape from this dilemma by trying to have it both ways. The agent cannot be existent as an actor, but non-existent as one who undergoes the action. Nor can the action be existent as an entity, but non-existent as dependent upon the agent. 8. An actual agent does not perform a non-actual action, nor by a non-actual one is an actual one performed. From this, all of those errors would follow. Nor is it coherent to suppose that the agent is existent, but the action non-existent. For then there would be no reason to call the agent an agent. An agent, after all, is someone who performs an action. The next two verses put this point and those made in the opening verses together. 9. An existent agent does not perform an action that is unreal or both real and unreal, as we have already agreed. 10. A non-existent agent does not perform an action that is unreal or both real and unreal, as we have already agreed. 11. An existent and non-existent agent does not perform an action that is unreal or both real and unreal, as we have agreed. Nagarjuna now moves to assert his positive position on this matter. Agent and action are interdependent. Neither is logically or ontologically prior to or independent of the other. What it is to be an agent is to be performing an action. What it is to be an action is to be the action of an agent. 12. Action depends upon the agent. The agent itself depends on action. One cannot see any way to establish them differently. 13. From this elimination of agent and action, one should elucidate appropriation in the same way. Through action and agent, all remaining things should be understood. By appropriation, Nagarjuna indicates any cognitive act by means of which one takes an attribute or entity as one's own, or as part of one's self. That includes the grasping of the aggregates as the self, or of one's mental states as part of one's identity, or of one's possessions as central to one's being. Appropriation in this broad sense is, hence, a central object of concern for Buddhist philosophy and psychology, and the relation between the appropriator and the act of appropriation is an important object of analysis. For in many ways the self that is constructed through appropriation presents itself as the subject of appropriation. But it is merely constructed, and its substantial reality is illusory. Then what indeed is the appropriation? And where there is no appropriator, how does appropriation occur? Nagarjuna here suggests that this account of the relation between agent and action provides a model for understanding that relation. That is, this analysis provides a perfect paradigm for understanding the nature of subjectivity. In all cases of the relation between an agent of any kind and an act of any kind, the identity of the two will be seen to be mutually dependent, and each will come out as conventionally real, though not as inherently existent. We will see this paradigm articulated over the next 5 chapters as Nagarjuna argues that we cannot make any sense of the self as an entity independent of its actions, perceptions, and interactions. Nor can we make a sense of the ontology of these phenomena as independent of the subject. This is a natural extension of the analysis of emptiness of the external world and demonstrates Nagarjuna's determination to treat all phenomena on the same basis.